Hello friends, and thank you for joining me here at Non-Toxic Home. I'm very glad you're here. I want you to take this video very seriously. I want you to talk to your doctor about this. You need to consult a medical professional, herbalist, homeopathic, multiple professionals. You need to do a great deal of research on this. You need to take into account your personal medical history. What pharmaceuticals are you taking? What herbs are you taking? Even your diet. All of these things need to be taken into account very, very carefully in regards to anaphylaxis and the treatment of anaphylaxis. Anaphylaxis is exceedingly serious, friends. My goodness, please take it seriously. This is not something to take lightly. This information that I'm sharing with you is my personal experience. My body is not your body. We have different histories, we have different medical issues, we have different herbs that you and I take. You may take some pharmaceuticals. I take 0 now, used to be on over 25. Woot, woot, none now. I haven't taken any for quite some time. And you really need to talk to your doctor about this. You need to talk to your medical professional, consult an herbalist, consult as many people as you can. Do a lot of research, friends. This is not something to take lightly. However, with what is coming and what has happened already, the fact of the matter is that shortages for life-saving medications such as emergency epinephrine injectors is only going to be more of a problem in the future. Now, whether you're a prepper or whether you think everything's hunky-dory, everything's going to go back to normal, everything is not going to go back to normal, friends. Spoiler alert. Whether you think that the world even is going to go back to normal, the fact of the matter remains that there are natural disasters that happen that we can't predict. Earthquakes, fires, sometimes you have to evacuate, you've got wars, things happen. And because life is unpredictable, it's important to have a plan B and a plan C in place, just in case you can't get your epinephrine autoinjectors, friends. It's very important that you have alternative options if the need arises. Again, this is not medical information. This is not medical advice. Consult your doctor and do lots and lots and lots and lots of research. I cannot stress this enough. This is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent, mitigate, or otherwise address any issues or diagnoses under the sun. Consider this video satire, if you will. And these statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. With that said, I have been in anaphylaxis more times than I can count. I've used hundreds of epinephrine autoinjectors. And as such, I have a lot of experience with anaphylaxis. This is not something you want to have a lot of experience with, but I do. As such, these are some of what I use personally and some of the things that I am planning to have in my bag as needed. Now, everybody has different symptoms when it comes to anaphylaxis. Now, if you go to the ER and you say you're in anaphylaxis and you don't have hives, they're probably going to tell you you can't possibly be in anaphylaxis because you don't have hives. Many people have atypical anaphylaxis. It is normal not to have hives with anaphylaxis, all right? I have had anaphylaxis hundreds of times, as I've said. Lived in anaphylaxis most of the time for a couple of years. Never had hives from anaphylaxis, ever, period. And this is a common issue for many people with latex allergies and mast cell activation syndrome. It's not uncommon. So, as far as what anaphylaxis is for you in general, it is assumed that if you have 2 or more bodily systems involved, then that is classified as anaphylaxis. Again, please do your research. It's different for everyone. For me, there are times when my first symptom of anaphylaxis is my throat shutting on me. Gone. Throat completely closed. No breathing whatsoever. In that case, the only thing that I use is an epinephrine autoinjector. Now, I've only used one since we moved into our healthy home. ditching toxins, getting off of pharmaceuticals has reduced my allergy bucket to almost nothing. So that's nice, considering how sick I was. I have a video up how sick I was. I was very sick. And I didn't even share everything in that video, honestly, such as the fact, I don't think I shared that I had basically head to toe burns on my skin because I couldn't tolerate water. That was pretty bad. If I didn't have an EpiPen or other kind of epinephrine autoinjector on me and my throat closed on me like that, this is what I would use. I would use this homeopathic remedy. It's called Apis mellifica. And I use the 30C. Now, I do take this if I have stridor, if my throat is feeling like it's swelling, if my tongue feels off. Honestly, I'm starting to take it for a lot of other allergic responses as well, and it works for me. Now, when you take it, this is very, very different, and you might think it's weird, and that's fine. Some things are weird. Doesn't mean they don't work, but again, talk to your doctor. Basically, I hold this above my mouth, and then there's this little thing that you turn, and I drop the pellets directly into my mouth. I let them dissolve under my tongue, and that allows for quick absorption. And honestly, there's at least one product now out as far as epinephrine goes that is also to be placed underneath your tongue, dissolved under your tongue, because that allows for quick absorption. So this is my absolute go-to. I love this stuff, this Apis mellifica, but you've got to look at the other ingredients in it. You might be allergic to some of the things in it. I am not. We are not the same person. Now, another thing that I haven't tried yet, but I did buy seeds for, is Ephedra. Now, of course, if you hear Ephedra, most people have alarm bells going off in their head, and understandably so. I have 2 aunts that lost a ton of weight back in the 90s when it was ragingly popular, and they went insane, and they took way too much Ephedra. They took a ton of it. They completely wrecked their lives. And if you take a lot of it, yes, that's a problem. You got to consider the dose. Use your brain. You have to use your mind. Think critically. Exercise critical thought. You got this. You can do this. All right. So another option that I have not tried, but it might be worth considering for you, is in this book called Prepper's Natural Medicine. Yeah, there you go. There is a section in here on traditional Chinese medicine, and I used to have saved a couple links to a couple of fantastic meta-analyses out of China. They were just phenomenally informative. And of course, PubMed took them down, and they seem to have been scrubbed completely online. Period. Full stop. Library of Alexandria is on fire. And where's this at? I can't find the section off the top of my head, but there is a section here about traditional Chinese medicine. They have a protocol. But if there's an earthquake or natural disaster, it would be difficult to obtain all of those different ingredients. Oh, here it is. The food allergy herbal formula is on page 124 and 125. By the way, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different herbs that in combination in a specific formulation are apparently very helpful. Now, with Ephedra, the part of the Ephedra that is used, I believe, of the plant as far as growing it yourself is the stems, maybe the root. I can't recall off the top of my head. Again, you have to do your own research here. Take responsibility for your health, because no one cares about your health more than you do. I have obviously never taken Ephedra because I haven't grown Ephedra yet, and it is illegal to sell it here in the United States. It's not illegal to sell or buy the seeds. As far as the seeds go, I can't recommend a specific seed to you because it varies based on your geographic location, your area, and your growing zone. Different growing zones have different types of Ephedra plants that do better in that area. So be sure to do the research on that if that's something that you are considering to have as your plan B or plan C. Now, I have probably down to like plan Z. I have so many different interventions that I utilize for myself as far as health goes when it comes to anaphylaxis and allergic responses. Now, as far as gastrointestinal anaphylaxis goes, or GI anaphylaxis, for me, I can be in GI anaphylaxis for days, weeks, or months. And I was in GI anaphylaxis for months at one point in time. And the thing that I use now, if I start experiencing GI anaphylaxis, diarrhea, vomiting, nausea, uncontrollable, or if I eat something that I realize later or quickly was latex contaminated, or if I accidentally eat something that had a wrong ingredient in it, I can't buy frozen green vegetables anymore, such as broccoli. The last time I bought broccoli, there was a piece of fried chicken in it. It was disgusting. So gross, so unhealthy, so toxic. And so what I did was I grabbed my bentonite clay. I have a small little whisk, and you would just put a little bit of bentonite clay in water, whisk it up, swallow it. And one and done. And usually within 15 minutes, sometimes 20. It's better. Sometimes it will make you need to go to the bathroom. It's not something you want to take constantly, because if you take a lot of bentonite clay, it will basically end up lining your gut too much, and that can cause problems as well. But if I needed to, I would take it every day. Again, this is not medical advice. This is what I use. So bentonite clay, I use. My husband takes it as well. I also use it if I get stung by something. If I have a migraine, if I have a headache, or if I have a migraine coming on, then I also take bentonite clay, and that usually clears it up for me. Now, I recommend Redmond bentonite clay specifically because Redmond is latex safe. They don't use latex gloves there. And also, I really like their products. Spoiler alert, though, I am a Redmond affiliate, or we are. All right, so another thing that I take is, you can't really see my label here, but this says Doc. Now, this is a weed, friends. This is a weed. It's not weed. It is a weed. Okay, get it right. This grows in most people's yards, quite frankly. Please, if it has been sprayed by Roundup or some other toxic chemical, if it's right near a highway, if it's in an area that has a lot of air pollution, probably not a good idea to take it, especially if there's soil pollution or potentially soil toxicity, because Doc is a dynamic accumulator. That means that it pulls the toxins and pulls things and minerals and other things up out of the ground, pulls it out of there, and then it accumulates it in its leaves. So you have to know your source for this stuff. But it's a weed. Now, what I do is I actually cultivate it. I've got a whole area where I want to grow a lot of Doc, and there's a lot of Doc growing. It showed up wild on our property, and I was very excited when I realized that it was there. This Doc actually got many people through the Great Depression as far as starvation goes. So it's very interesting that there is a huge war on that plant or that weed. What I do is I harvest it during the summer. I just put it in my solar dehydrator, typically not in the sunshine though. It dries out pretty quickly, and then I can either powder it after it's dry using a stainless steel mortar and pestle, or I typically use the dry goods container on my Vitamix for that. And that is free medicine. Now, Doc is my primary medication these days, which is wonderful because it's free. It's God's medicine. Wonderful, good stuff. If I have EMF anaphylaxis, EMF-induced anaphylaxis, this is my go-to. This is lion's mane mushroom. Now, you can buy lion's mane kits to grow your own on Etsy, and that's what I do, friends. You can grow it on your countertop. And typically from a mold avoidant perspective, it's not something that would be recommended, but the lion's mane that comes from China is probably chemically contaminated. And if you try to ascertain the latex safety of lion's mane mushroom that you purchase, you're either going to be told that whoever's selling it, that we can't know whether it's been handled or in an area of latex gloves or not, or you'll be told that basically we do or we think so. You're not going to be able to find latex safe lion's mane mushroom, friends, unless you can buy it from someone who is a local seller. There might be a couple places you can buy it on Etsy. Actually, there is one seller on Etsy who wildcrafts it, and I used to buy lion's mane from them, but then I just started growing it. This I just take maybe a teaspoon or so. You can also make it into capsules. The same thing with dock. I used to make the dock into capsules, but now I just take a teaspoon or so if I need it, and I just swallow it down with some water, and I'm good to go. And I know everything that is in it. Now, as far as the alternative to bentonite clay, if you can't take bentonite clay, you can also try activated charcoal, which also can be difficult to find as far as a latex safe option goes for GI anaphylaxis. Another option for GI anaphylaxis that I have used myself in the past is basically 1 quart of warm water with 2 teaspoons of non-iodized sea salt. It needs to be sea salt. It cannot be regular table salt. I'll drop a link below to my article on non-toxic salt, because most salt is toxic. Again, I recommend Redmond for their sea salt. That's what I use. We use a lot of sea salt. And in this particular situation, you absolutely can't use regular table salt. It won't work the same. So you take a quart of warm water, 2 teaspoons of sea salt, mix it up well, and then you chug it down. And you drink as much as you possibly can, as quickly as you can. And you need to be on the toilet for it. It is not pleasant. It is not fun. I will tell you that right now. But it is effective. It halted anaphylaxis many times for me when we couldn't afford EpiPens, quite frankly, years ago. And it's much easier on your body than EpiPen, but it is not fun to drink salt water. I don't know if you've ever tried to drink salt water, but it is not enjoyable at all. And obviously, if you have any issues with your throat, at the time, it's not going to work. If you're nauseated, it's really difficult to drink that, quite frankly. And I don't know if I'd even recommend trying it, because it might make it worse. And I have tried it when I was nauseated, and sometimes it didn't stay down because it's so unpleasant. But it is an option out there, potentially plan B, plan C, if you need it. Let's see, what else? So when I personally go into anaphylaxis, or if I'm having a day where I'm fighting to keep my throat open, which happened just this past Friday, for example, my number one step for me is to take this Apis mellifica, and I usually take 4 pellets under my tongue, and then I make some coffee, and I have use a coffee enema. Now, I cannot find PVC-free, latex-safe coffee enema supplies that are affordable. So what I ended up doing was buying an enema bulb that was latex-free, and then I used that. And it's not as bad as it sounds, friends. It really isn't at all. And quite frankly, if it's for your health, it's not that bad, especially when you consider some of the tests and some of the drugs and treatments that are used these days, chemo, radiation. Woo, I have been through the ringer when it comes to medical fun, and coffee enema is not that bad at all. It's actually pretty calming and soothing if you approach it in the right way. A lot of things are in your approach. Part of it also is in your mentality. If you are flipping out about your throat closing or about being in anaphylaxis, it's only going to get worse. You can't stress about these sorts of things. You got to remain calm and try to exercise critical thought and consider what the best option would be for you instead of flipping out about it. Now, you need to be sure to talk to your doctor or medical professional and your pharmacist as well, because some of these things might interact with some of your medications, or if you have heart problems, might be an issue for you as well. Now, a lot of people that have heart problems can't use EpiPens and other epinephrine autoinjectors because of the impact on the heart muscle, on the cardiac muscle. So that's something to consider. So the other thing that I often do if I'm struggling to keep my throat open, besides the coffee enema and this Apis mellifica, which by the way is made by Boiron, Boiron, is to take a magnesium bath, and that is 1 cup of Epsom salts or magnesium chloride hexahydrate flakes. I recommend the magnesium chloride hexahydrate flakes more because they are more bioavailable. In other words, your body absorbs that magnesium more easily. You can also put a cup of baking soda in it and a tablespoon of boron. That is the ratio that is recommended, and that offers me great relief. If you don't have a bathtub, which I understand, we've lived in places where there wasn't a bathtub, just a shower, you can also put a smaller ratio of those 3 items in a foot bath and use a foot bath. And magnesium is used in over 300 cellular functions, 300 bodily functions in your body. So magnesium is very, very critical for proper cellular function, for your organs to function, for your brain. It's essential for everything. So I will drop a link below as well to my magnesium butter recipe. It's not difficult to make at all. I use that every night on my legs. You know, I have not used that as far as anaphylaxis goes, but now that I'm talking about it and thinking about it with you, I think that might be a good option as well, especially if, for example, the bathtub needs to be cleaned. Because let's face it, taking a bath in a dirty bathtub is not relaxing. It's not conducive to healing, quite frankly, in my book. But that's just me. I think that's most of what I do. I also try to keep my toxic load very, very, very low, as low as possible, and that includes avoid exposure to electromagnetic frequencies, because EMFs are known triggers to degranulate mast cells. I personally deal with mast cell activation syndrome, but if you have any allergies at all, the mast cells do come into play. And so if you can keep your mast cells happy, that's a good thing. Also, your liver, anything you can do to increase glutathione, such as taking glutathione, or the liver or the coffee enemas that I've already mentioned, increase glutathione, which are very critical, which is a very critical aspect to reduce allergic responses as well. It's very important for your body, especially for people such as you and me who have anaphylaxis or other similar allergic issues. I think that's about all that I can think of right now off the top of my head. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop a comment below. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share so that others can learn that there are alternatives. If they can't use an epinephrine autoinjector for whatever reason, or if they are wanting to plan ahead for supply shortages, for natural disasters, this is very important information, and I hope that you help to share it. Thanks so much for being here, friends. Have a most beautiful and blessed day.